Welcome to episode 25 of The Leap Home. Freedom!
In this week's episode, Sam must help an elderly Native American man return to the reservation where he was born to die with dignity. To do this, they must first escape from police custody and then evade a dedicated manhunt by an angry sheriff long enough to reach their destination. With firearms on both sides, can Sam deliver the peaceful death the old man deserves? Or will it all end in a hail of bullets?
Are you going to scalp him?
No.
Oh, too bad. If ever a man deserves scalping, he does.
Good evening, Ian. How are we? I think I can tell.
Not 100% today, Gerry. How are you?
I would say about 60% myself. I think I felt like what you feel like about 2 days ago.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, no, this is day 6 for me, feeling like this.
The dreaded lurgy.
The dreaded lurgy.
It's nasty. But
Fighting through.
I think it shows our professionalism.
Yep, dedication.
Yeah. Of course, professionalism implies that you get paid for it.
Yeah, semi-professional.
No, amateur.
Highly skilled amateurism.
Keen. Very keen.
Enthusiasm, that's it.
Yeah, we'll just crack on with this, won't we?
Yeah, why not? Were you excited to get another racism episode in?
It was a different type of racism-based episode. I did enjoy it, yes. Although there are questions we have to ask.
Of course. I did really enjoy the lead performance, though. The older gentleman.
He was quite funny, wasn't he?
I liked him.
Yeah.
He had a bit of Al's sense of humour.
Not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
No. Before we get into it, let's do the social media stuff. You can find us on Twitter, where we love to chat to folk, and on Instagram, we're at Leap Home Podcast. You can find us on Facebook at The Leap Home, and show notes are at theleaphome.com. Every episode available 1 week early on YouTube at Columbo Podcast Productions, where we encourage you to leave thoughts, comments, and hit subscribe and notification buttons and all those sorts of things, please.
You don't look as if you're in a condition to be hanging around too long tonight.
Preferably not.
Okay, let's just crack on.
So we get the same intro as last week.
The now standard summary.
Yeah, well, that's 3 times, yeah, so we can call it standard. And then we're in a prison. It's an extended version of the tag that we saw last week, as usual. Sam getting beaten up by, I believe, the sheriff. Who
He starts to fight back, mind you,
he does.
a Chuck Norris roundhouse.
He does. The sheriff's telling him not to be smart with him, but Sam is then taken down from behind, I think, by the deputy with some sort of blow to the head, knocks him out.
Yeah, I think it does require the deputy to step in to overpower Sam.
He's dragged down the hall by the 2 men and dumped in a cell with an older Native American man who is told that Sam slipped, but he's got a line back, doesn't he?
Yeah, he mentions that it looks like the sheriff also had a slip as they walk out.
Sam kind of comes to once the 2 officers are away, and he looks in the mirror and says, "Oh boy, I'm an Indian." It's a bit problematic now.
It is. Obviously, the actor playing the Native American decided that either he wasn't offended or that the money he was being paid was enough to buy his...
He didn't have enough clout to change all the attitudes that he wanted to change.
Yeah. Now, he is known as Joseph.
The older man is, yes. He tells Sam that it could be worse. He could be a white man.
Yeah, that wouldn't be worse.
Well, it would from his perspective.
Well, in that case, you can't complain about racism if you think you are in... if this is your preferred... I think you should be saying, you know what? No, actually, being the white man is a far preferable position.
Well, yeah, but it doesn't mean you want to be one.
No.
So you could be a tech billionaire, that'd be better, but it would still be terrible. I
just think that, if you're going down the route of suggesting that actually that the being a white man isn't the privileged position.
It's certainly privileged. Whether it's better, I think, is a different, more subjective discussion.
Talking about tech billionaires, for a while maybe you think that Musk is just a bit of an oddball, but he's a scumbag, isn't he?
Yes. Yes, with his false free speech claims and all this stuff. Oh, it's free speech as long as no one puts that photo of me that I don't like up.
I should have said this when you were doing the socials. What's this new thing, this old Massive Dong or something it's called?
Mastodon. Are you on Mastodon?
I don't have, no.
No.
Oh, no. I'm not, no. Should we be on that? Is this a weird...
I don't think the podcast...
Is it a weirdo thing?
Well, I think you need to bide your... I have a personal account that I'm just using to suss it out, but it's a little bit complicated.
But
I don't think it'll catch on.
Is it also full of crackpots?
Well, I don't know.
Do you remember the right wing set up their own Wikipedia, Conservapedia or something?
Yeah, I mean, I know it's not. Mastodon it's hard to explain.
It doesn't matter then.
It's like lots of independent things that kind of communicate with one another, so they're all run by different people. So there's not
different
one
servers and things.
Yes, it's basically different servers, but you can communicate cross-server.
Yeah.
So
I hate nerds.
Yeah, well, you knew about different servers. So.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, like I'll look into it. I haven't get a massive dong.
Yeah.
Anyway, where were we?
We were at the credits, and then we come back with a flash saying it's November 22nd, 1970. It's a strange one. It felt more dated than some of the ones that are set earlier to me.
Maybe it's the fact that it's set not in a metropolitan area.
I suppose rural Nevada.
Yeah, probably. Still looks like it's back in the...
Just the desert, isn't it?
Yeah. And Sam, we hear his inner voice quote a poet who refers to how stone walls don't make a prison or iron bars a cage. But in his current predicament, he's not too sure.
Yeah, he's a bit frustrated, isn't he?
Yeah, it's all very well saying that, isn't it? But reality is, if you are within stone walls and iron bars, it does feel like a bit of a prison.
Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah.
Can't cage his imagination, though.
Do you have a bit of trivia about the poet?
No, I didn't.
Right. Richard Lovelace.
Oh, it's a real one?
Yeah.
I assumed Sam was just making it up, to be honest.
No, I think he was British.
It sounds like someone's probably imprisoned for war crimes or something.
I would think I was more a fan of his sister,
Hannah?
Linda.
Right. Joseph tells Sam it may take a while to get out because they've been arrested for auto theft. And Sam, the way that Sam responds, it's his usual thing of not taking into account things that people must already know.
Explain.
So he says, I stole a truck, as if... I mean, that makes you sound like a weirdo.
Mm-hmm.
Because, of course,
Well, he doesn't. He says he borrowed the truck.
No, Joseph tells him he only borrowed it.
Ah, right, yeah. Yeah, and he was the passenger.
Joseph is the passenger, yes. So, yeah, we learn that Joseph is Sam's grandfather.
Mm-hmm.
And Sam responds to him that a lot of people can't tell the difference between borrowing and theft.
I think Joe, he dismisses those type of people as a primitive culture and then talks of a jailbreak.
Yes, Sam initially is opposed to this on account of it being against the law.
He's a very square chap.
Very square. If we've been arrested, it must be legit.
There's no other reason for a minority
to be in prison.
Yeah. Obviously deserved it. That's leaving aside the fact that he's obviously there for some sort of purpose.
Yeah, which he doesn't know yet.
Mm-hmm.
Because Al hasn't bothered to show up. So Joseph tells him that unless he wants to be locked up for 10 years, eating food off trays like he was in a nursing home, he needs to find a way to get them out because he's the big city guy and he should have the ideas.
So we return to the cell where Joe is chanting as the sheriff enters and is shocked to find that Sam, as George, is not there, apparently. And I think Joe claims that he turned into a raven and flew away.
Yes, and Joseph couldn't because he can only change into a wolf.
And a wolf, yeah, which is too big to fit through the bars.
At this point, the sheriff draws his weapon and comes into the cell looking under both of the bunks. And
as he does so, he is knocked out by Sam, who is apparently hiding under the blanket.
How did he manage? Yeah.
I'm not sure.
That doesn't make any sense.
No. It's opposite. That's what you do. You pretend that you're hiding under the blankets by putting the pillows down there and you're somewhere else.
It would be quite obvious he was hiding under a blanket.
Yeah. In any case, he manages to take his gun and the two of them make their escape.
He also takes his keys and locks them in the cell as they leave.
And as they do, Joe remarks, I'm going to call him Joe, by the way. I've taken note, but just out of laziness, rather than writing Joseph.
Yeah, nobody calls him Joe.
No, I'm going to call him Joe. Joseph remarks that he should never mess with the Indians.
On the way out, they take down the deputy as well, smashing him in the face with the cell door.
Which prompts Joseph to note that he looks like a sheep.
It's just an observation, nothing comes of that.
No.
Outside, Joseph wants to say hello to everyone that's passing by as they make their way back to the vehicle that they stole the day before.
Borrowed.
Of course.
But when he realises he doesn't have keys, he's advised to hotwire it like he did previously.
Yes, Sam is. And we see the sheriff yelling from the cell window to get someone to stop them, but nobody's interested in what you have to say.
We can discuss it a little bit later, and we will. But the sheriff is an absolute psychopath.
Oh, yeah. We'll definitely get into that.
I mean, what's the crime here? Stealing a car.
And beating up a sheriff and locking him in a cell.
Yeah, but when you beat up, he didn't. It was no worse. In fact, there was nothing compared to what Sam had to endure.
Yeah, that's true.
No, he's been hit in the face with a door and stolen a car. Or a truck.
Well, Sam punched him in the face, didn't he? It was the other one that got hit in the face with the door.
Yeah, okay, sure. But not really anything that requires, for example, the death penalty.
Well, this is it, yeah. But he takes it on himself to be executioner at this point, and that's it. So he's in his office next. We see him talking to his deputy. The deputy's complaining about having a broken nose while the sheriff is loading up a weapon and telling him to get a message out on the radio to stop those Indians.
Yeah, I quite like the deputy wondering and hoping that Lucille will still like his face.
Yeah. At this point, Joseph's other grandchild, Suzanne, which is Sam's sister, or Sam who is George, arrives to ask about them because she's heard that they're in the cells. And
is shocked to hear of the escape, and no doubt the fact that he is loading his gun as they speak. That doesn't put her at ease.
Well, she says that Joseph needs to get back to his nursing home, but the sheriff, who looks like he's going to go on a hunt at this stage, says it's the last place he'll be returning him to if he gets him.
Yeah, and surely if he's very ill or very sick, he should be going to a hospital, not a nursing home.
Well, that's just palliative care, I suppose.
Mm.
Anyhow, Suzanne asks to come along with him as he pursues Joseph and Sam, but he taunts her instead of letting her come.
Yeah, he initially accepts her request.
Yeah.
But on the condition that...
she's a deputy.
A sworn Nevada deputy, yeah. Before taking pleasure in retracting the offer when she obviously admits that she's not.
Yes.
And drives off. We find ourselves on a desert road.
Yeah, Sam's driving a cowprint truck and recalling an old Indian proverb. This is a bit dubious, I think, about not judging a man until you walk a mile in his moccasins.
It sounds like the type of thing that a white man would write.
Yeah. Just basically take a regular proverb and Indianize it.
I mean, we should be grateful that in this episode they don't do the old how and the chant, the old, the stuff.
Or the one that they do at the American football, the da-da-da-da-da,
right.
da-da-da-da. Yeah, no, we don't get any of that, at least. That's one small pleasure.
Sam then sees a road sign, which identifies that he is in Nevada, and then corrects his fellow escapee who starts singing a tune from Oklahoma.
Yes. Joseph's trying to make the radio work, but he's increasingly frustrated at the incompetence of the white men that made it.
Now, I mean, I've got to discuss the fact that Joe's actually quite a racist himself.
No.
He's constantly having a go.
It's perfectly justified.
It's not, well, see, it's not that. It's if you were constantly picking up on attitudes and pointing out the failures of the white man, and that would be fine. But he keeps saying things like, "Oh, the white man, he can't invent anything," and it's like, well, you know what? You can say what you like about the white man, but
they did invent. I think it's tongue in cheek, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. But sort of, I would prefer him if he just was accurate.
Yeah, he laughs at his own joke here, and then that becomes a coughing fit, which causes Sam to pull over and examine his grandfather's breathing. Yeah,
which he is then able to confirm is emphysema.
That's very swiftly diagnosed there by Sam.
I mean, if you've got that medical background, you are a doctor, I suppose, by listening to it.
Is there not multiple possible conditions? Maybe not. I don't know. Anyhow, he thinks Joseph needs oxygen treatment, but Joseph just wants to go home, where he convinces Sam he definitely has oxygen.
Sure.
However, at this point, Al shows up and says, only if you count the oxygen that's in the air, essentially.
Yes, and the nearest hospital is 50 miles away. So,
behind them, the way they should come.
Yeah. So when Joe goes to water the plants, Sam demands more information.
What's going on here, Al?
Well, let's see. Your name is George Washer Key, 25 years old, grandson of Joseph Washer Key, who's a full-blooded Shoshone Indian. He's 71 or 72 years old or so. I don't know. His birth date is kind of hazy. You haven't seen him since you were 14, which happened to be yesterday when you helped him escape from his nursing home.
In a stolen truck.
Yeah. The nursing home, by the way, that's where your sister Suzanne put him until you arrived, and she's a school teacher. Now, we are in
Nevada.
And the year is?
1970. License tag.
The date is... November 22nd. Ziggy says you're here to...
I'm here to save Joseph's life.
No. No. You're here to help him die.
Al, I'm a doctor, or I used to be a doctor. I can't help him die.
Right now, you're George Washakie, his grandson, and you've taken him from the nursing home so he can go back to die where he was born.
Right, and along the way, we stole a pickup truck. We broke out of jail, and I slugged the sheriff.
You did what you had to do. Sam, the state and your sister won't let him go back to the reservation. They say it's too dangerous. They say the trip would kill him.
Well, they're right.
Sam, he doesn't want to spend the last year of his life confined to a nursing home in a hospital bed looking like a pincushion.
He'll be alive.
Maybe just being alive isn't enough.
A good life deserves a good death.
Okay, couple of questions from that clip.
Shoot.
I don't understand why you have to break someone. Okay, let's take it a step back. Why did Sam need to steal a truck?
Doesn't have one of his own.
So no one in the family.
Well, as far as we know, the only family is his sister, who doesn't want to go along
Okay,
with this.
he can't rent one. He doesn't have a friend that he can say, listen, can I borrow your vehicle, your car, or whatever.
He's not from here. Remember, he's gone off to live in the city. So
Right, see some sort of big city. I'm sure he can hire a car then.
well, you would have thought.
I mean, it's a lot easier
Maybe
than
he's got no money.
stealing a car. But no, if he's in the big city, obviously doing some sort of big
must have
city
something.
work.
Who knows?
So I don't understand why he's stealing a truck. And secondly, I don't understand, it's a nursing home, not a prison. If this man wants to leave, Sam is his relative, they turn up. Firstly, even if he's not, they want him to go through the whole hassle of discharging him. If Sam turns up and says, I'm going to take my grandfather out for the day.
Yeah, well, he's been allowed to take him out. That's not a problem. The problem is that the sister wants him to go back.
Not saying he broke him out, if that actually
Well,
talks
that's
about breaking him out.
Yeah, that's the phrase, isn't it?
This whole thing just seems unnecessary. Get a car and take your grandfather to where he's going. All this sort of, the law breaking, the perceived law breaking, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Maybe they should have written it so he hadn't stolen the truck and he was just accused of it. That might have been interesting.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's not what happened.
No.
Joseph comes back, as we heard at the end there, and Sam tells him he should go back to the nursing home where they can look after him.
But he points out that he only has himself and Suzanne, and that his friends are the elements.
No.
Now, see, that's the thing as well, right? Now, yeah, it's obviously you have to be careful, but I am not a religious person in any way. I'm a believer in science, and sometimes I think with beliefs that are, I don't know, you get it quite a lot as well with people, believing in sort of Chinese medicine, all these old. It's not. I don't care if it's garbage. Your friend you can't talk to. You can't change into animals. Your friends aren't the wind or the elements. That's nonsense. I'm not going to away to insult you, but I don't care if you believe that. It's garbage. In the same way that if you believe in other things as well, not sort of more traditional or standard religions, I'll say that's nonsense as well.
At least in this case, he's not doing any harm or killing anybody over his beliefs.
No. I mean, he's perfectly entitled to them, but I just say I wouldn't be embarrassed to say what your friends are the element. Your friends is wind. No, your friends aren't wind. Sorry, Joe. I'm not believing that. If you like to believe it, but I'm not getting involved in this discussion with you.
But Sam's his relative, so he probably believes this thing.
No, I'm talking in general. I'm not talking about in this. I find it hard to put up with it. It's like
Right.
different. That's different culture. I don't want to be racist or that.
Intolerant.
Intolerant, but you have to. If you believe in science, you believe in science, and as long as you're not causing any harm, but you don't have to accept it.
Okay. Joseph points to a hawk at this point and tells Sam, he doesn't say that he can become a hawk. He says that the hawk lives freely and doesn't want to be put in a cage when it's close to death. He gets quite emotional about this.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
But Sam doesn't really respond, and Joseph tells him that he's been among the white men for too long and walks away. People who don't value freedom.
You see, the thing is, that's another issue as well that I have, and I think I might have to take a note later on, but perhaps the younger generation of Native Americans don't want to hang about reservations, and act.
Well, they come on to that point.
Yeah. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. That's just evolution of people.
I think, yeah, so this guy, Joseph's kind of the Native American version of a conservative.
Mm-hmm.
He's supposed to hang on to traditional values and feels like others should also value them.
Yeah. Now, I can understand that if you think that your culture is disappearing. But, that's sometimes that just happens. You can get back through, there's plenty of cultures the world over, the Picts and all this type of thing. Just people change and move on, and the communities change. You just have to accept it. There's no point in trying to, expect the younger generations to.
Well, even on smaller scales, people who like maybe run the same business that their parents owned that they got from their grandparents, or run a farm or something,
well, of course,
and they want their kids to do it, and the kids are like, no, I want to go to university and
precisely. If you look at maybe a more relative example here in Scotland, maybe up in the Highlands of Scotland, there are people who are crofters.
Yep.
Yeah, and they say, no, I'm going to go to Glasgow and I'm going to work in IT.
Yeah.
No, you shouldn't. You must.
We'll have to sell the croft. Yeah, we'll sell it.
Yeah,
and retire. That's fine.
Our whole community would disappear. Yeah, well, that's just what happens.
Nobody speaks Gaelic. Yeah. It's not very useful anyway.
It's not.
Oh, I would learn Gaelic so I can speak to the other 150 people.
Yeah.
Brilliant, and they all speak English.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on. Al, at this point, tells Sam that Joseph won't get proper medical care even if they go back because the sheriff's going to come and shoot them.
Yeah, psycho sheriff.
Yeah, very much so. It reminded me of a couple of movies where you've got these sort of vigilantes.
Well, that reminded me of Rambo.
To the extent it reminded me, I don't know if you've seen Hell or High Water.
No.
It's one of my favourite films. It's not the same idea. It's not a psycho sheriff, but there's the same sort of manhunt idea.
Sure.
At one stage. And it's in a sort of similar setting.
Right.
It's worth watching. People should watch that. Anyhow, Sam, at this point, agrees to take Joseph back to the reservation, but only on the understanding that when he gets there, he will see a doctor.
Which Joe agrees to, Joseph.
I don't think he intends to see a doctor, but he says yes.
Back at the sheriff's office, Suzanne is with the deputy.
Yeah, why is she allowed to hang around in the back end of the office?
Well, the deputy probably
likes the company.
Yeah, maybe likes her.
So she's pacing around, and the sheriff gives some instructions to the deputy, and then Suzanne...
he radios in.
Yes, from his car, from his Jeep thing. And then when he gets off the radio, Suzanne and the deputy agree that the sheriff doesn't just hate Indians, he hates everybody.
Hate's not good.
No, but we're setting him up for his redemption arc at the end of the episode, so it's fine. On the road, Joseph gets very excited when he sees a small convenience store and fakes a coughing fit to make Sam pull over.
Yes, it's a general store, including, and they sell lots of tat, including Native American items.
Lots of them.
Yeah.
Al and Sam take the opportunity to reminisce over childhood sweets while Joseph goes and picks up some blankets. But Al makes a mistake.
What's that?
He accidentally reveals to Sam that his own father died at the age of 21.
Yeah.
One of a couple of coincidences that tie him to George.
Yes, George's father died at 21, yeah.
The same as Sam's. And they both like the same sweets.
Bit of a blooper there by Al, unless it's deliberately he's just dripping bits of information in for him. Maybe.
Certainly it was news to Sam anyway. And we'll come back to this, but I think this is the point in the episode where Sam's attitude changes.
You think?
Yeah. He makes that connection. And he understands a bit better after this.
That would make sense. Joe is at the counter and jokes about how he would also like a fat woman on a narrow bed.
Yeah, it's Al-style humour.
Seems impractical. Why would you want a fat woman on a narrow bed?
Don't know. There must be a reason.
I'll appreciate it anyway.
Yeah, so Joseph at the counter is trying to buy these blankets, but he doesn't have any money, and neither does Sam.
Yeah, things take a turn when they find out that the goods come to nearly $50, and Sam pulls out his gun.
Yes, the shopkeeper immediately raises his hands, backs off, and says they can take whatever they want.
However, he's quickly informed that it is not to rob him, but simply to trade with.
I don't think the shopkeeper really buys this. He's still quite nervous.
It doesn't change the fact anyway. I'm sure the shopkeeper doesn't want a gun, he wants money.
Yeah.
A forced trade is just the same as robbing.
Yes, and Joseph's taking advantage of this by asking for another gun off the wall in exchange anyway. It's quite clear the shopkeeper doesn't feel he's in a position to refuse.
No.
And we get a Columbo reference.
What was that?
Sam asks for one more thing.
Yeah.
It doesn't say what it is, but it turns out to be the oxygen tank from out front.
Yeah, we see that as they're back on the road. I don't know, why would they have an oxygen? Is it just pure oxygen? Is that how it works?
Yeah, you can take that to assist, but you can't. Sam explains here you can't take too much or you'll die.
Which he gets Joe to inhale through a straw and again forgets who he is and starts to divulge medical knowledge that George would not have.
Indeed. Absolute idiot.
Yes. Why can't he just stay in character?
He doesn't seem to be able to.
He has to cover this by saying that he learned it from TV, and Joseph thinks it must have been from Marcus Welby, MD.
Indeed.
Before presenting him with a gift.
Yes, it turns out that between the blankets, Joseph has an array of other goods.
Which he justifies as he claims that the gun was worth much more. That's not how it works. It's only is worth as much as the other chap wants to.
Yeah, if he doesn't know that you're taking that, then it's stealing.
What's he got anyway? What has he stolen?
He's got this knife that he gives to Sam. He's got a radio. I think there's more things later on as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get this thing that I suspect is a bit controversial, where the Native American cheers on the Redskins against the Cowboys.
Yes,
it's obviously a Cowboys and Indians sort of
yeah, of course.
idea.
It's his favourite football team, apparently.
Greatest team in America.
At that point, were they?
In 1970, no.
I suppose you might think they're the greatest team if they... See,
for a short spell in the 80s.
But here's the thing. What is you're an American football fan. What is the relationship between the football team and the Native Americans?
Well, it's a bit controversial. They're not called the Redskins anymore. They were forced to change it because it was highly racist. Yeah. And there was some controversy. It went on for years. Obviously, some Native Americans thought it was honouring them and others thought it was offensive.
But I mean, when the team was formed...
When they chose the name, I don't know. They probably stole the land off them or something.
Right.
Or it was in tribute to a local high school team or something. I don't know.
Okay.
I'd have to check. But it's certainly the angle that the team used to always give was it was intended to honour Native American people.
Sure.
But I think a lot of them did not feel that way.
Okay.
Didn't feel honoured at all.
No. Are there any Native American football players?
Oh, probably. I don't know.
I mean, I thought you were an expert in American football.
I don't know the race of every player.
I'd imagine
there's probably some with at least Elizabeth Warren style ancestry.
No, I mean like a pure Native American.
There was a guy who played for the Jets called Little John Flowers. That sounds like a Native American name.
Yeah, it could be an else, maybe. I don't know.
Or maybe he's from Robin Hood.
Yeah, exactly. We'll move on. Back in the sheriff's office, Suzanne interrupts Joe and Sam on the police radio.
Canoe, can you hear me? Over.
Suzanne.
George, you've got to bring him back.
I can't. We'll go to jail.
Whose fault is that? You shouldn't have stolen that truck and taken Grandpa with you. Canoe, come home. I don't want you to die out there. I want you to be at my wedding.
You're getting married?
No. I just want you to be here if I do. For the future.
Turn yourself in, George. I'll recommend the judge to go easy on you.
Canoe, listen to him.
When was the last time a white man kept his word to us? Didn't you learn anything in that college you went to? No. I will not come back and die like a worm in some white man's hut. No.
So I've got a concern here.
Uh-huh.
How are they picking up this frequency?
I've no idea because they are not in a police vehicle.
No, and they didn't hear the previous conversation over the radio that the sheriff had with his deputy.
Yeah, no, he's bought this crappy little radio from or he's stolen the crappy little radio from the general store.
No, it's not that. It's a handheld radio that he's using here, not the portable radio.
So why is that?
Why are they suddenly picking this up? Unless she's switched it to some sort of general channel. It seems really unlikely and very specific that only them would.
Yeah, and also that she would know how to do it.
Yeah.
Unless the deputy's advisor.
Yeah, but you'd think they would mention that.
And
after that conversation, they do switch it to a different frequency to have a private conversation. And the sheriff's got a question for the deputy.
What's that?
He just heard that train at the end of that conversation and he asks the deputy where the noon freight would be at this time, and that gives him the information he needs to reverse course and head off in the correct direction.
Back in the truck, Sam is puzzled when Joseph confirms that the road doesn't go over the mountains.
No. So they pull over and spot a couple of horses in a paddock field. I don't know.
Where a little bit later, we cut to the abandoned vehicle with a note which is read by the sheriff.
Yeah, he's now standing with the owner of those horses, reading this note saying, we'll bring them back. Or you'll get them back. We're just borrowing them.
Yeah, they're at it, aren't they? They're thieves.
How are they going to get the horses back?
The owner is obviously not happy at having been traded. Again, it's a forced trade for a stolen truck.
Yeah, he says you can use the truck, and the sheriff's like, this is nicked, you can't use the truck.
But he's more concerned with following them through Tyrol Pass.
Well, that seems to mean something to Suzanne, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, I think she obviously knows that's where they're beheaded.
Yeah.
We join Sam and Joseph as they climb up the mountain.
Yes, and they stop, and Joseph gets off his horse. He wants to mark his horse with some traditional Native American markings that indicate the battles it's seen, perhaps, or the battles that he's seen.
Mm-hmm.
So he has some paint that he stole from the store.
And at this point, Al appears as Sam opens one of the tins of paint and informs him that Joe is... Did you see that painting society marks on his face?
Oh, he's painting marks, yeah, so...
Yeah, it's on his face and the horse.
Oh, his own face, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he tells Sam that he's now part of a warpath.
Yeah. He then puts these, once they get the big tin of paint open, handprints on the rear of the horse to indicate the men that he's killed in battle. And he says he can see in Sam's eyes that he too has killed men and invites him to participate.
He has, hasn't he?
Well, yes, we'll come to this at the end, I think.
Right, okay.
Rather than right now, but Sam puts 2 handprints on the horse.
Yeah. Al loves all this type of stuff and eagerly explains what is going on as they get through these traditional steps.
They then get back on their horses, but not for long.
Why not?
Sam gets shot.
Yes, right off his saddle.
Yeah, that was unfortunate.
Yeah, it certainly was, yeah.
Very accurate.
Which results in a long-distance shootout with the absolutely psychotic sheriff. He, as mentioned before, he's trying to murder Sam and Joe.
Yeah, runaway convicts, yep. They're not convicts.
For
suspects.
For stealing a truck.
Oh, and beating him up and embarrassing him.
After they get...
His pride is wounded, so he can kill with impunity.
This guy really does need locked up himself.
Yeah. Anyhow, Al is looking after Sam, who only has a superficial wound.
It's a mere flesh wound.
Yeah.
But they're worried that
Had worse.
that they'll be trapped up there when it gets dark. So Sam fires off a few shots, which allows them to escape from their current position. The sheriff is taunted for shooting like a white man.
I wonder if that was an oblique reference to stormtroopers.
You think so?
Because they're dressed in white and they can't shoot, but probably not, given that Joseph blames white men for everything.
Yeah.
So we then get a bit of a climbing montage for both Sam and Joseph and for the sheriff. And we come to a point at night where Sam is leading the 2 horses and trying to support Joseph at the same time as they struggle up the side of the mountain.
Is this the point where Al describes the climb as tougher than a $2 whore?
Was that Al that said that?
Oh, was it Joe?
Joseph that
It may have been, yes. It's an Al type thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're right. It was Joseph, which turns into a wheezing cough as he laughs at his own humour.
They then spot a Star Trek style cave.
I have literally taken the same note, Star Trek like.
It reminded me of the penultimate episode, I think, where Spock and McCoy go back in time.
That when they're all cold.
And the woman's there and they're nursing McCoy back to health, and Spock falls in love with her and becomes primitive.
Yeah. So inside, Sam has his doubts that Joe can survive, and he's warned that he better or else Sam will never leap and will end up in jail. So the question here is, if Sam never leaps, now we've had this chat as well.
We don't know. He's never failed in his tasks, you know.
And what would happen to George then? Would he
Always
remain
in
the waiting room forever?
Yeah. Don't know. We don't know. It's not happened, so we don't know. Joseph calls Sam over and asks him to go up the back of the cave and build a fire that can't be seen from the outside.
I think he mentions the voices that he's hearing in his head.
Does he?
For a second, I was really get a bit annoyed. I thought that they were going to provide Joe with like the abilities of these dogs or kids that they can hear because he's a this man of nature. I thought, don't start this nonsense.
I think it may be hallucinatory. Anyway, we briefly see the sheriff continuing his ascent of the hill while Sam is out gathering wood and builds this fire, realising, however, that he can't light the fire.
I quite like this bit.
Yes, Joseph shows an old Native American trick to Sam.
Yes, he proceeds to take out a small bag, which he swings over the fire and chants at the same time. The gullible Al is loving this. He thinks he's about to witness some authentic hocus pocus, but reality kicks in.
Yes, Joseph pulls a lighter from the bag and lights the wood.
Sam laughs at this, and Joe mentions that Sam's dad used to fall for it all the time before they discuss him and the afterlife.
You miss him, don't you?
Yeah, I guess I do.
Don't you think you'll ever see him again?
No, I don't think so.
No wonder you want me to go on living. Death is a doorway, and we are like the grasshopper. When we die, we shed one skin and put on another and leap to a new life on the other side of the door.
What if there's nothing beyond the door?
Then I would fight to hang on to this skin as hard as I could, because it would be all I had. But it's not. All of life is a series of leaps for us grasshoppers. Eh?
I guess you could say so.
Sometimes we see where we are going. Sometimes we don't. Have you ever leaped and not at least survived?
No.
The next time you leap, remember that.
Is he talking to George or is he talking to you, say?
And stop trying. Make me hang on to my old skin. Okay?
Okay.
Now, if we only had some hot dogs.
That was a bit on the nose.
Far too, in fact, what did you say there?
Are you reading my notes?
A bit on the nose.
Literally when it says bit on the nose.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it?
I mean, yes, it was terrible.
Well, when you say terrible, it was terribly on the nose.
Yeah.
But it was still quite fun.
Yeah, okay.
Sort of. But the issue here that Joseph is talking to Sam as if Sam is a non-believer and all a spiritual guff.
Yeah, but we know that Sam's religious.
Yeah, so we know he'll be up for this.
Why does he say no when he asked if he'll see his dad again?
Yeah.
I don't know. This is a bit strange. However, it is too late for them because they have been discovered.
Yes, the sheriff approaches with his gun out.
He hears voices inside the cave and sees the fire flickering.
But when he bursts in, he finds that it's just the radio playing, and we see Sam and Joe sneak off with the horses. I like that.
That was nicely done. So the sheriff runs back out of the cave and starts following once again, never quite getting close enough.
It's now morning, and by sunrise, Joe laments his lost people, which Sam says is another reason for him to live and pass on memories.
This is the point that you made earlier about people not wanting to follow traditional ways. He laments the migration of Native Americans to the big cities and the forgetting who they are.
Well, the thing is as well is this, that if you are, in this case, a very small minority in a country,
yeah,
and you're looking to have greater representation and a bigger voice, you can't do that from, if your people just stay on your reservations in the land, you need people in positions of power.
Yeah, influence.
Influence, yeah. That's how you get representation. That's how, in America, if you look at, again, the past, when you had, for example, the Irish coming over initially to work as labourers. But what happened was, obviously, they get themselves involved in politics, and they're very, very well represented now.
Now they run Boston.
And now they run Boston. But no, as an example, you get, people have to get yourself involved and get yourself into positions up. And if you're encouraging, or if you're not encouraging the youth and the new generations to do that,
yeah,
then I'm not sure what you're going to expect.
Yeah.
Certainly the white man's not going to give you it without you taking it.
Well, I suppose the question is, do you have to play their game, or can you change the systems? If you don't have the influence to change the systems, then you have to participate.
No, I mean, but the only way you change the system is by playing the game and then changing it. Certainly just sticking to what has happened in the past isn't going to get you, it's not going to change anything going forward. You'd be relying on the oppressors or the other parties thinking, do you know what, this isn't fair, we better give them things.
Back off a bit, yeah. Anyhow, these two start riding down towards the river, but then a stunt double who looks nothing like Joseph falls off of Joseph's horse.
Indeed. He breaks his arm, which Sam has to put into a makeshift splint.
It looks like it's going to hurt.
Oh yeah, of course it was, yeah. But this causes him not to be able to ride and instead has to be guided along with the Sam on foot. Yes.
So a little bit later on, we see this happening. Joseph's now been put up on a horse, but just walking. And Sam still wants Joseph to see a doctor when they get to the reservation, but now he's refusing this.
And when Sam tells him that he has so much to learn from him, he responds by saying that all he needs to know is that freedom is the greatest gift they have, but the hardest to hold on to.
Okay.
Does that even make sense?
No.
It's not as when there are very few peoples who have got freedom and then have it taken away. There's plenty of people who have never had it, and that's hard to get in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I suppose you could say folk give it away by voting for people who are willing to restrict their rights and so on.
That's certainly true, yeah.
At this point, we hear the sounds of an approaching horse, assuming it's the sheriff. However, there's a twist.
Yeah.
Breaking all the laws of time and space, Suzanne has somehow overtaken everybody on a horse and is there.
All I can think, yeah, I mean, I've got that note as well. How did she get there?
I mean, she knows where the place is, so maybe she takes a more direct route.
Yeah, because you mentioned earlier when it was the Tyrol Pass.
Yeah, it meant something to her.
So maybe she knows a shortcut or something.
Convenient.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, rather than get him to safety, she immediately starts moaning at Sam for taking him from the home.
Yeah, she picks a fight, and while they're arguing, the sheriff appears over the ridge.
Yeah, and so Sam goes to deal with him and tells Susan to take Joe onwards.
Yeah, she doesn't bother, though, as we're about to find out. Joseph asks, I think we heard this at the start, whether Sam's willing to scalp the sheriff, and when he says no, laments the fact because he deserves it, which is true.
Yeah. Up in the ridge, this scumbag sheriff fires at the old man, but as he does, he's bundled off his horse by Sam, and this ends up in a fight in the snow, which Sam obviously wins.
I'm pretty sure if they made a movie of this episode, Tommy Lee Jones would play the sheriff.
Yeah, that'd be a good call, yeah.
Anyhow, they get into a fight, which is kind of a nice bookend, I thought, to the opening scene.
Uh-huh.
They started with a fight, and it's kind of ending now with them in a fight again.
Sam wins it, and he pulls out his knife.
He's good to scalp him, yeah.
Oh, until Al shouts at him not to. So do you think that's, I mean, what's happening here?
Sam's just really mad at the guy that keeps shooting at his old grandpa.
But scalping is not the type of thing that you would...
Yeah, he's got a knife. It's
I don't know, if I had a knife, I wouldn't be thinking I'm going to scalp someone.
He was given the idea he's been seeded in his mind by his grandfather.
Yeah, maybe.
Anyhow, he just cuts the guy's hair and leaves him otherwise untouched, essentially, after all that. And Al tells Sam that he thought he really was going to scalp him, and Sam says he actually was.
That's crazy.
Well, you know what Sam is. He gets emotional about things.
Yeah, normally about women.
Yeah. Anyhow, Sam has made the mistake of leaving the sheriff his weapon.
Schoolboy error.
Which he picks up and shoots Joseph with, because Joseph hasn't left, like Sam suggested he should have.
Yeah, no, but okay, so what happens is, he picks up the gun and is about to shoot Sam.
Yes, and Joseph rides back up the hill a little bit, shouting, and the sheriff shoots him instead.
Yeah. And as he lies on the snow with Sam and Suzanne beside him, he asks if he scalped the sheriff.
But Sam says no, he just gave him a haircut, which he's probably regretting now that he's lost his grandfather over it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he opens up his shirt.
Yeah, he realises, I think they say that the lighter would have saved him because the bullet's gone through the pouch.
Yes. He keeps his sense of humour going there, yeah.
Bit unfortunate. And Sam realises that Joseph's going to die, so he picks him up and starts carrying him physically towards the river.
I think is this the point here that Joseph asks Suzanne if she likes football?
Yeah, it's a random aside, yes. He explains to her that the Redskins are the greatest team in America.
Really hammering this home.
Yeah.
This gets priorities.
We're not offended by that term, just so you know.
He looks to the sky and asks if they've made it yet onto the reservation land. And Sam says, not yet. And he carries him on to complete this journey. But they didn't learn from their schoolboy mistake just moments earlier, as the sheriff rises once more with his gun.
George! You cross the river and I'll shoot! All he wanted to do was to die in peace. To die the way he wanted to. He didn't want to die inside of a building, surrounded by people he didn't know, hooked up to machines. He wanted to die surrounded by his friends. By the sky. By the wind. By the open spaces that he grew up with. They were his family. They were his friends. All he wanted to do was die with dignity. George!
Obviously, the sheriff doesn't listen to Sam's words. He doesn't shoot.
Completing a remarkable arc of redemption that began seconds earlier.
But can we just say again, the entire episode makes no sense to me whatsoever. The old man was simply in a nursing home and wanted to go back to his reservation, his family land, to die. There was no obstacles to this. He was an adult who could give consent. Fair enough, his Suzanne didn't want him to, but that's too bad. It's his decision. All he had to do was say to Sam, can you come and pick me up and take me back? This whole thing about stealing cars and then breaking out of jail, it's so contrived.
Well, yeah, there's not enough background given to why Sam would need to steal the car.
Yeah.
There should have been something about him not having any money or...
Yeah. Anyway, that's where we are.
Yeah. So as Sam carries Joseph across the river, he's crying after this emotional speech, and Joseph asks him why, and he says, I don't know.
And then he tells him that he will tell his father how good he is when he sees him, and obviously that strikes at Sam's personal heartstring.
When they get to the other side, he realises that Joseph's died and lays him down on the banks of the river, and Suzanne starts crying as well, and Al looks a bit morose.
Solemn,
while Sam begins greeting once again and stares down at his grandfather and leaps.
I would have to say that this must be the most downbeat leap we've had. Normally it's quite a euphoric, triumphant...
yes, they've successfully achieved something.
Yeah, in tears.
He leaps into a rerun, and if I'm lying, I'm dying.
Yeah, Frankie in the attic with Teresa.
And that's the end.
Yeah.
I think the episode had heart, but I think if you wrote it today, you'd do it differently.
Oh, you certainly would. The language, the attitude would be entirely different. I mean, it wouldn't take much of a tweaking, just words, really. Yeah.
And I'm sure in 1990, there probably weren't as many questions being asked.
Well, there wouldn't have been the fact that this was on a major network and broadcast. I assume that, unlike the Jimmy episode, it's probably, maybe our American listeners can tell us, I don't think this will be banned. I think they'll probably broadcast it in its original form.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine you would at least have a Native American consultant working on the script with you nowadays.
Of course, and I would like to think that the actors themselves would maybe
raise some questions,
and people would listen to those concerns.
And they don't really dig into, you get this idea that Joseph's a bit bitter maybe against white people, but you don't really get any investigation or interrogation of whether that's justified or whether he's just a cranky old man.
Well, I mean, I think what you can assume is that it's a representative of how the white man treated the Native Americans anyway, so he's would justify it. It wouldn't have been well treated, I wouldn't have thought. But yeah, obviously he was a little bit of a caricature, I suppose. Yeah, a little bit like,
I turned into a wolf.
Yeah. He always sort of laughed at himself at that.
Yeah.
So again, it was fine. It was written in the 90s. It's attitudes of the 90s.
Yeah. Okay. Do you think that the sheriff's capture or kill approach was justified.
No. I thought he was absolutely crazy. He is a.
And why is he going off cack-handed on his own?
On his own, but he's loading up. I'm going to kill this guy because he's
Embarrassed me.
Because he embarrassed me. Yeah, after I gave him a sound beating,
Yes.
two-handed, he had the temerity to punch me once.
Yeah, and I think the episode almost plays, though, that he's entitled to do this. The way it's set up. Like, the sister's saying, he's going to shoot you, and Al's like, he's going to shoot you. As if that's to be expected and reasonable.
That's a weakness as well, isn't it? I'd like to have seen some sort of retribution. What happens to the sheriff?
Yeah.
It's
I mean, but you know what would happen? He would shoot them both. He would say they were shooting at him, and nothing would happen. He'd keep working in his job.
Yeah, if he did, but I'm saying, yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? Yeah, he shot him.
Yeah. And as soon as Sam comes back across the river, he's getting lifted. But he didn't care about his consequences for himself.
Remember, Sam leaps, so Sam can't ensure that this guy is brought to justice.
No, I don't think anything would happen to the sheriff, even in these circumstances.
Yeah, not good.
Did you agree, though, with what I was saying during the episode about Sam's attitude changing after Al made the comment about his own father?
Yeah, I did, and I think, there's a couple of scenes there that hammer that home.
Yeah.
The personal impact it's had on him.
Yeah. Any other thoughts?
No other thoughts. It was a okay episode.
Yeah, with issues.
Yeah. But as always, as you said, heart in the right place.
Speaking of heart, it aired on Valentine's Day 1990 and was directed by Alan G. Levy, one of your favourites from Columbo and so on. This was the third of 6 episodes for him, so if you want to go back to Kamikaze Kid in season 1, you can hear more about Alan. Written by Chris Rupenthal, this was his third of 10, so go back to Good Morning Peoria's podcast, hear more about him.
Native American, obviously.
Oh, of course. From the clan Rupenthal. Joseph was played by Frank Salcedo. This was his only quantum leap. He also appeared in Star Trek The Motion Picture as one of the very many uncredited Enterprise crew members, so whether he's a Star Trek fan, I don't know, because that was how that scene was done. He's also been in shows like $6 Million Man, Star Trek The Next Generation, and very many Western-themed series, including Walker, Texas Ranger. He was the hereditary chief of the Wapo tribe of Sonoma County, California, and was known as Grey Wolf. He died in 2009 when he was 80. So that means he's only 60 in this episode.
He looks older.
Sheriff Taggart was played by Leon Rippey. This was his only quantum leap, but he also appeared on shows like Star Trek The Next Generation, the Stephen King alternate history series 11/22/63. It's a JFK one. Have you seen that?
I've not, but it's
good. I watched that when it was first aired.
I think I have the audiobook.
James Franco's in the adaptation.
Right.
He's also been in Deadwood. I think he had a recurring role in Deadwood and appeared in the Deadwood movie. But he's also worked a lot with Roland Emmerich, who cast him 7 times, including on movies like Stargate, Universal Soldier, and The Patriot. At one time, he was known as an accomplished ballet dancer, and he's now 73. His last screen credit was 2019, that Deadwood movie. Suzanne was played by Gloria Hayes. This was her only quantum leap appearance. She was in shows like T.J. Hooker, Knight Rider, and Dallas, but she's only got 1 screen appearance since 1994. The deputy was played by Tom Everett. This was his only quantum leap. He's been on things like T.J. Hooker, Murder, She Wrote, ER, and The West Wing, as well as many, many films, including Air Force One, Dances with Wolves, Die Hard 2. He's 74 now. He's still active. And an interesting one, Ed Hooks played the shopkeeper. This was his only quantum leap, but he had a prolific career up until the mid-90s, including appearances in shows like Murder, She Wrote, Knight Rider, and The Golden Girls. But since then, he has concentrated on work as a lecturer, teacher, presenter in the niche skill of acting for animators.
Really?
Yeah, he's got his own website set up and his own business doing this. So he teaches animators about acting so that they can animate characters in a way that's natural or naturalistic.
Well done. Found a little gap in the market.
Yeah, he's been doing that for almost 30 years now.
Brilliant.
In terms of trivia, Joseph refers to Sam as having killed 2 men. Okay, so I would say Troyan's brother and Nicky, but some folks say he killed Roger in Honeymoon Express.
He did, yeah. He shot him.
Did he?
Yeah.
So,
sorry, did he stab him?
Did we see him die?
I think so, yeah.
So he killed 3 guys. Unless you don't count the brother. You don't count the brother, do you? Jimmy, when he ran him into the lake.
No.
So obviously he doesn't count it either. He's not feeling any guilt over that one. The NFL game they hear on the radio is a real game from that date. Cowboys defeated the Redskins to 45-21. It is quite odd that they don't mention how racist the team name for Washington is. It's now changed. They're now the Washington Commanders. Is it possible that Sheriff Taggart is named after the Scottish policeman who had a show around that time that would have been in its 6th season?
No, more likely to be named after Taggart from Beverly Hills Cop.
Do you think?
Yeah.
It's spelt like the Scottish guy.
Yeah, no chance.
In terms of things we learned, Sam's father died when he was 21. Anything else?
Al likes Native American culture and has quite a bit of knowledge on it.
Okay. And in respect of on this date, 22nd of the 11th, 1970, nothing happened.
Yeah, it was a...
Some guy won the NASCAR Cup or something.
A barren date. I went for the number ones in America and the UK.
Okay.
So in the States, it was I Think I Love You by the Partridge Family. And
Well, there's a connection to Columbo there then.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. And I Hear You Knocking by Dave Edmunds was the chart topper in the UK.
Okay. Around that date, 2 days earlier, the UN accepted China as a member, and a few days before that, the Sun newspaper in the UK had its first page 3 girl.
Did you look that up?
I didn't look up the images, but her name was Stephanie Rahn.
There you go.
Okay, next time we have Good Night Dear Heart, where Sam, as a coroner, has to find evidence of a murder.
That sounds good. That's a bit like Ashes to Ashes.
So we'll see you in 1957.
Until then,
Cheerio.
well.